Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyamari Paschatyadesatanine Sri Krsna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasavi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today, I heard an interesting story that I would like to share with you, which sums up the mission and mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada was asked, could you succinctly, in one little sutra, in one little mantra, in one sentence, explain the Hare Krishna movement? And Prabhupada said, oh yes. He didn't even bat an eye. He said, chant Hare Krishna and share Hare Krishna. That's it. So should we end class and chant? I actually feel like chanting. I don't want to. Yeah. Anyway, we'll chant more. I want to begin this class with a song that you're familiar with, the first two lines, because it embodies the mood of the devotee in relationship to Lord Chaitanya. Sri Krsna Caitanya Prabhu Daya Kora More Toma Dina Ke Dayalu Jagat Samsar. Sri Krsna Caitanya Prabhu Doya, mercy, Kora More. Make your mercy this direction. Direct your mercy to me. Toma Vina Ke Dayalu Jagat Samsara. This world is a blazing fire. And who else in this world can help me other than you? Without your help, no one can help me. I was once watching one of my godbrothers, his name is Prabhu, disciple of Prabhupada. He was being interviewed and he was explaining how he became a devotee. Haribol. He was explaining how he became a devotee. And he said, I don't know. I don't understand how it happened. I can't explain it. This was probably 35 years after he became a devotee, and he said, still to this day, I can't understand how I extricated myself from material life and came to spiritual life. I think a lot of devotees have that experience. If they look at their lives before and after, and how they made that transition, it's quite miraculous. And often, we don't even know how it happened. This is how it happened. Toma vina ke dayalu jagat samsara. Without you, without your mercy, I can't do it. So, it's an act of inconceivable mercy. And what we call kripa. Kripa in Sanskrit for mercy or grace, or you could say blessing. So, I remember when I first began practicing Krishna consciousness, I was doing lots of kirtan, because the devotees had a center on the campus, and I was going to school, and they did kirtan every day, on campus and on the street. So I was maybe doing more kirtan then than I do now. Kind of funny. So that kirtan is having an amazingly powerful effect on me. Unknown to me of what would happen, but it was working on me. And I became a devotee thinking that this kirtan, it's so amazing, and so relishable and enjoyable. I just want to do it all the time. And then after a few weeks of living in the temple, they said, well, aside from chanting, we just want to let you know you're supposed to become a pure devotee. And they started explaining what that was, and I actually didn't fully realize what I was getting into. Well, what does a pure devotee mean? They don't hate anybody. They're not envious of anyone. They forgive everyone. They don't criticize anyone. They're not jealous of anyone. They're peaceful. They have integrity. There's a whole list of qualities. And so I was thinking, oh, I didn't know that. If I would have known, maybe I would have not moved in the temple. But now it's too late. I've given up everything. I'm living in the temple. And basically, they're telling me, okay, this is the path you're on, the path of purity. And so I'm looking at it like you might look at the Himalayas from the ground. We're going to climb that? No way. Well, for me, I was already a third of the way up the mountain, so what could be done? So, here I am, and here is the goal. So how do I get from here to here? That's called kripa, mercy. And mercy means a power that's given to us to be able to accomplish what we, by our own strength, cannot accomplish. So in this prayer, the devotee is saying, Toma vina ke dayalu, without your mercy, I can't do it. Then the next verse, the next line. Patita pavana hetu tava avatar. Mosama patita pavana padeva. So this is very interesting, because this shows the mood of a devotee when he approaches the Lord, when he approaches Lord Chaitanya. What's his mood? Patita pavana. Patita pavana means one who is very kind to those who are low, or fallen, or one who is kind to those who don't have the qualification to achieve this high level of spiritual life. Patita pavana hetu tava avatar. My dear Lord, you descended as avatar for what purpose? To help those who are helpless. Patita pavana. You're the friend of those who have no other, they can't do it on their own, so you've come to help them. And then the next line, Most sama, patita prabhu na pavena. Sama means equal, and mo means me, as far as I can tell. Have any Bengalis here? It must be me. Mo sama patita prabhu. You'll never find anyone equally as low as me. Mo sama patita na pavena. There's nobody as low as me. So what's he saying? He's saying, you came as incarnation to help those who are helpless. And there's nobody more helpless than me, so therefore I deserve your special mercy. So this shows the humility of a devotee, the attitude of a devotee. He doesn't think, oh, I'm very great, I'm very powerful, I'm very special, and I'm going to do this on my own. I'll just chant Hare Krishna, and in a few weeks I'll become self-realized. Which is what I thought when I moved into the temple, the ashram. I thought, give me 3 weeks, 2 months maximum, and I'll become self-realized. It didn't happen that fast. We're still working on it. But I had the wrong attitude. The attitude is, I cannot do this on my own. Now, sometimes people ask, what is the meaning of the Maha Mantra? And that's the meaning of the Maha Mantra. I cannot do this on my own. So when we're chanting, we're praying for strength. I cannot do this on my own. I mean, just imagine. Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master said something amazing. He said, we should only desire the greatest good for our worst enemy. That's difficult. It's even hard to desire the greatest good for those who aren't your worst enemy. Isn't it? This one little kid, this is a true story. They were writing little prayers to God. He said, God, I don't know how you do it, how you love everybody, because half the time my brothers and sisters drive me crazy and I don't love them. How is it you love everybody all the time? And that's the position of a pure devotee. He doesn't hate anyone. In fact, he's the well-wisher, even of his enemy. So, from where we are now to become the well-wisher even of our enemy, that seems maybe impossible. So the devotee feels, how will I do this on my own? This seems impossible. So, I don't have qualification, but because you're merciful, then I know you'll be merciful to me. So we have this story, beautiful, beautiful story. There were two Brahmins named Jagadananda and Madhavananda. Brahmins means priest. Yeah, like the intellectual class or the priestly class. So they were born as Brahmins. But very, very soon, they kind of became like the mafia of the local village, the local town they were in. They lived in Navadvip. So they were controlling it because they were dangerous. And if people got in their way, they would just kill them. So Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya's associate, thought, well, we should try to help these brothers. They were born Brahmins, and let's try to help them. So they went to them and they asked them to chant Hare Krishna. And they actually tried to kill them. But fortunately, Nityananda, and he was with his associate Haridas, they got away. They ran away. But these Jagai and Madhai, they were so bad. There's a book called the Manu Samhita, and this book has a list of every sin you could commit and what is the karmic reaction for the sin. And they used to read that book. And you know why they read that book? Because they just wanted to make sure, maybe there's some sin we haven't committed yet. So they go through the book and they go, hey Jagai, they were like drunk all the time. Hey Jagai, we haven't done this one yet. Oh, okay, let's do that one. Amazingly degraded. In fact, they were so rough and tough that when they were running after Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu, trying to kill them, they were so drunk they couldn't catch them, and they fell over on the ground. And they were such people that they were so frustrated that they couldn't kill them, that they started beating up one another. Hey, we didn't get them. That's your fault. Boom, boom, and they pull one another's hair and beat one another. That's what they were like. So anyway, Lord Nityananda came back again. He said, please chant Hare Krishna. And Madhai, Madhavananda, Madhai, took a pot and threw it, again trying to kill him. And then Nityananda Prabhu said, it doesn't matter that you're trying to kill me, but I request you, please chant Hare Krishna. And so his brother, Jagadananda, saw that. He couldn't believe it. And Madhai was taking up another pot to try to kill Lord Nityananda, and Jagai stopped him. He said, can't you see he's a saint? And this message came to Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya came on the scene. Said, who is this Jagai? He's trying to kill my devotee. I will kill him. And Lord Nityananda stopped him. He said, no, don't kill him. Be merciful to him. And Lord Chaitanya said, Nitai, if you forgive him, I will forgive him. He said, yes, I forgive him. And Lord Chaitanya said, but you must promise now to chant Hare Krishna and become a sadhu. And somehow or other, they promised. But here's the most amazing thing that happened. Sri Sri Radha, Govardhana Dari ki jai, Krishna Balaram, Vidyaraj, Maharaj. So here's the amazing thing. You want to hear the amazing thing? This is really amazing. It still amazes me, even though I've told it many times. So, they said, yes, we will give up our bad ways and we will chant Hare Krishna, we will follow you. And there was complete transformation. And they felt so bad because they had harassed so many people. They had stolen from people. They had killed people in that town. They had raped women. They felt so bad. They wanted to do something to rectify and pay back. So in those days, your bathtub was actually a river. You didn't have a bathtub or a shower. You went to the river. And you washed your body, you washed your clothes, you got your water. If you go to a village in India, you'll still see this. Haribol. Gauranga. So what they did, they built a ghat. A ghat is a stairway that goes down to a level area so people can easily take their bath. Otherwise, it's just a mud bank and you can slip down and slide down. So they built this ghat. And then they started inviting people to the ghat. They said, please come. Please take bath here. Now, basically, everyone in Navadvip hated them. As we say, they hated their guts. I mean, they really hated them because these two characters were terrorizing the city, so everyone hated them. And so people still, they heard that they became devotees, but they still had this vengeance in their heart because these people were so bad. So they were thinking, well, if they become devotees, then we can harass them and they won't do anything. So this is our chance to get back at them. We can do whatever we want. So people would come to them and harass them. You Jagai, you Madai, you're the scum of the universe, I hate you. And then they would spit on them. Someone would come and urinate on them, someone would come and slap you, I hate you, slap in the face. And they wouldn't do anything. The most amazing thing was, after that would happen, they'd be slapped or spit on, and they would say, please do it again, we deserve worse. Is that amazing? They came from the lowest position. You couldn't get any lower. They committed every sin that is known to man. And they went to this position where people were harassing them and they were saying, do it again, we deserve worse. So what they demonstrated was this Kripa Shakti, this energy that comes from Lord Chaitanya when one gives oneself to bhakti, to the process, to the chanting, that although we cannot go this high on our own, by that kripa, by that mercy, it can happen, even to those who are not qualified for it. Now, what's really interesting about our Hare Krishna movement, as many of you may know, the movement started in America in 1965, and then it came to Australia when? 1969? Anybody know? 1970. I was just listening to my godbrother Charu Prabhu. He was in Sydney. He'd just been a devotee a few weeks, moved into the temple. And then the older devotees, one of them flew off to Hong Kong and one flew off to Fiji. And he was taking them to the airport. And he said, well, now that you're going, who's going to run the temple? And they turned to him and said, you are. And he'd been in the temple 2 weeks. True story. The history of Sydney. So the movement started in America in 1965 in a place called the Lower East Side of New York, and that was a congregation of all the alternative people and the hippies. And then very soon it went to San Francisco to the famous Haight-Ashbury, which was I was never in the Lower East Side, but I was in Haight-Ashbury, and it was, to say the least, very far out. And Prabhupada came there and into the midst of the hippies, and he said, okay, here are the principles. No drugs, which was, as I often say, they took drugs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So he's coming in and saying, no drugs, no illicit sex. That was like, forget it, impossible. No meat eating. And most of those hippies in those days were not vegetarian. They hadn't caught on yet. And no gambling, but that's not a problem. So, if you had to bet and you didn't know that this sadhu is coming from India, he's going to go to the Lower East Side of New York, and then he's going to come to San Francisco, Haight-Ashbury, and he's going to tell the hippies, don't have sex and don't take drugs. Would you bet any money that he's going to be able to do that? I don't think so. Yeah, he would bet money that he'll never do that. And guess what? Well, you know already. You don't have to guess. He did it. And I have personal experience because I was there with devotees who were taking so much LSD when they moved in the ashram, it took them all day to chant 16 rounds. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. I mean, I've seen it again and again. You've seen it? Yes? Also here in Australia? You saw it? This says San Francisco, Haight-Ashbury. It's to be expected. And we saw those people gradually become purified. Like some of them were incoherent. Just, yeah. You know where the word spaced out comes from? Did anyone ever explain it? It's when you take LSD, you space out. And if you've taken too much, you stay spaced out. Just like that. So that's where the word came from. But we had the incarnations of space outs joining the temple. And that's where I joined in Berkeley, which was San Francisco. So we saw many of them. And those people gradually became purified. And if you look at the spiritual masters of the Hare Krishna movement today, who are not Indian, I would venture to guess 99.9%, probably all of them, came from that background. Is that true? I think so. That's where we came from. So we were also Jagai Samaras. So that's what Lord Chaitanya can do. What we can't do ourselves, he can do through the process of bhakti, chanting the holy name. So therefore, the devotee says, in a humble mood, just look at me. I'm not qualified for this, but I want this. And therefore, I want your mercy. Hare Krishna. Okay, so what I was thinking we could do, there's a section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita which describes very briefly, in maybe 30 verses, Lord Chaitanya's whole life. Because it's his appearance day, I thought we could talk about that. But before we do, I just want to finish this morning's class. Some of you were here, some of you were not here. But in this morning's class, we had described how Lord Chaitanya had come in order to experience the love of Radha. He was, you could say, jealous of Radha's love. He wanted to experience it. He didn't know it. He didn't understand it. And so, just an interesting philosophical point, that how is it that Krishna, who knows everything and who is Atmarama, completely satisfied, is not satisfied, and he wants to experience the love of Radha. Interesting, isn't it? So, some of the great spiritual masters have explained this in a very interesting way, and I'll have to explain it a little more. They said Krishna is complete, but part of his completeness is he can be incomplete and complete at the same time. That makes him more complete. Are you confused? Okay, I'll give an example. One time, Srila Prabhupada was asked, is God the greatest? And Prabhupada said, He's the greatest and the smallest at the same time. Just to be the greatest doesn't make him the greatest, but if he can be the biggest and the smallest simultaneously, that makes him the greatest. You understand? Okay, he's the greatest, better than everyone. But he's also inside the Amma. So he's the biggest and the smallest simultaneously. That's his greatness. He can be a paradox. So it's something like that. He's complete and incomplete. But, that's his completeness. But, it goes further. So Lord Chaitanya has come, and he successfully experienced the mood of Srimati Radharani, her feelings, which he couldn't understand as Krishna, but he was able to enter in that mood and experience her, and so then he became complete, because now he could experience Radha, whereas as Krishna he couldn't. So Lord Chaitanya is the complete. It completes Krishna. It's Radha and Krishna together, Lord Chaitanya in Radha's mood. So, Hare Krishna. So, I thought we could read, and just give me one moment to locate this. We'll just read a little bit and then we'll have a little discussion and a little time for questions. I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nam Sankirtan, which is the congregational chanting of the holy name. I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing the four mellows of loving devotional service. I shall accept the role of a devotee, and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. Unless one practices devotional service himself, he cannot teach it to others. This conclusion is indeed confirmed throughout the Gita and Bhagavatam. And then he quotes that Krishna descends to set the example, teach religious principles through his own example. My plenary portions can establish the principles of religion for each age. No one but me, however, can bestow the kind of loving service performed by the residents of Braja. There may be many all-auspicious incarnations of the personality of Godhead, but who other than Lord Krishna can bestow love upon the surrendered soul? So, Krishna had come, and then Krishna had taught Bhagavad Gita, and the last teaching of Bhagavad Gita was, you should surrender. Surrender your life. Take shelter from me, surrender your life. And then Krishna disappeared. And there was a problem. Nobody did it. Now what to do? Chant Gauranga. Nobody did it. So then he thought, okay, we have to come back and we have to have a different program. We just can't ask people to surrender, we just have to give it to them. We'll just give them Krishna. Buy now, pay later. When Krishna came, he said, buy now, pay now. Chaitanya said, buy now, pay later. We'll give it to you, take it home. Try it out and see how it goes. Therefore, in the company of my devotees, I shall appear on earth and perform various colorful pastimes. Thinking thus, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna himself, descended at Nadia early in the age of Kali. We were just in Mayapur, and in Mayapur there's the home of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and I visited that home many times. And from the balcony it is said that he looked across the river and he saw a light shining. One night he saw a light shining. And he thought, that must be where Lord Chaitanya was born. And it is said the next day or soon after, he saw Gaura